What up, Vibe Tribe? It's me, Salia Marie 1243, your fairy tarot sister. And today's video is going to be a story time. I'm going to do the story of my spiritual journey, which is highly requested. A lot of people have been asking this for a really long time. So I was like, okay, while I'm put together, while she's, looking somewhat decent, let's go ahead and put that in there. So I'm going to talk about my spiritual journey all the way from my baby days all the way up until all of my glorious 28 years that you see here. Soon to be 29, that Saturn return. Anyway, we'll get into that. So, I didn't do any notes before filming this, so bear with me. I'm gonna probably jump around, but you guys know, if you guys been rocking with me for a while, you probably know I do that anyway. Grab you a little snack, get you some water or something, sit back, relax, and I am going to go over my spiritual journey and talk to you guys about some things that a lot of you guys will probably resonate with, I feel like. And I'm really interested to hear about like the things that you guys resonate with and the things that you guys might maybe see differences in my spiritual journey. So make sure you guys comment, share this with anybody who you think might think it's interesting or might benefit from it, and we'll get into it. And forgive me, I'm eating, so I'm supposed to make this a mukbang, but honestly I'm not like hungry, I'm just like snack hungry. So I went and got me some cotton candy grapes. I should have taken them out and put them in a bowl so I'm not like making this noise, but whatever. We're gonna work with it. Okay. So. Okay, excuse the minor interruption. Alright, so my spiritual journey. Looking back into my childhood, I really realized that there was a lot of times where I can identify that I was having spiritual experiences, right? So as early as I can remember, I was definitely seeing like angel numbers and things like that. I saw 1111 constantly. I saw 420 for like several years, over and over and over, and I was always trying to understand what it meant, but I never really knew to like look it up. So note to anybody who is still figuring out angel numbers, try looking them up. I would say pay attention to what you're hearing, feeling, saying, thinking when you're doing, when you see the angel numbers, and then always just say thank you to your guides. I remember seeing 1111 a lot, and I would just use that as a time to make a wish, because I heard that somewhere, like 1111 is the time to make a wish. So anytime I saw 1111, I would make a wish, which makes sense because 1111 can be about like manifestations, and a lot of times when I read for you guys, that's like the message that your guides want to come through, like they are letting you know that your manifestations are coming. But a tip is just to, whenever you see an angel number, no matter what it is, what you think it means, if you don't know what it means at all, just thank your guides. Thank your guides because they're sending you those numbers for a reason. What else do I remember? From my childhood, I was always very sensitive. I remember being called emotional, sensitive by my parents, by my family, people who knew me. It was always like, oh yeah, Salia's a very like emotional kid. She's very, it was weird because I kind of had like a lot of sides to me. Like I was really shy, but also really talkative, which doesn't make sense until I got older and I realized that my energy played off of other people's energy. If there was somebody in the room who was not good, like looking back, right? And I didn't necessarily understand this as a kid, but like looking back, if there was somebody in the room who I was uncomfortable with or whatever, I was silent. She was silent. I didn't want to talk, whatever. But if it was somebody whose energy I kind of vibed with, I was chatty Cathy. So looking back on it now, I know that I was an empath. Where was I? Yes, baby empath me. Ooh, it was just 444. Of course, caught another angel number. I've been seeing that one a lot lately. So, baby empath me was really, really sensitive to the energies of the people around me. I could definitely tell when somebody was not cool, when their energy was weird, right? So that's one of the earliest things that I remember about my spiritual journey, looking back on everything. And the earliest I can remember seeing angel numbers was probably around 6 or 7. I probably may have seen them earlier, but that's the earliest that I remember. Another thing about my spiritual journey that I remember from my childhood is astral projecting. There are some traumatic experiences that I went through when I was a kid, and for the longest time growing up, I didn't even remember them. I would have certain flashbacks to them. I'll refrain from describing too much of it just out of, sensitivity. But I remember growing up, like, having flashbacks to the house that things happened in, to the people, like seeing their faces or seeing like little memories, like their like the side of somebody's shirt or like their hands or something like that, but kind of blanking out of the actual moment itself. And I realized after some good therapy and things like that, that I was kind of blanking out of those moments in order to save myself from trauma. So little me was astral projecting during those times when things were happening. And that is a large part why I still to this day don't really remember fully the things that have happened. I'm definitely looking into going to like hypnotherapy to try and see if I can bring some of those things back up, which I know sounds really crazy. Like, why would you want to do that? But you guys know me. I'm all about the shadow work, right? So if there's something there that needs to be healed, then I definitely want to address it. So yeah, so baby me was definitely astral projecting. Another thing my spiritual experience that I remember from my childhood is my imaginary friend, which is really cool looking back on, because I had an imaginary friend. His name was John. I didn't think anything of it. I was an only child until I was about 6, and that's when my first little sister was born. And so up until then, I was kind of like, a loner. I was a kid by myself. So I would play with my imaginary friend. I'm pretty sure if you ask my parents, like, I was always talking to myself, my imaginary friend. I was always kind of like off in la la land doing those types of things. It wasn't until literally last year, so 2020, where I realized that that imaginary friend has been my spirit guide, who I now know as Jonathan. And he's one of my main guides who is with me. And I remember recognizing him when I did my first successful meditation / astral projection to meet my spirit guides. A note about that for anybody who is trying to do that, I just want you guys to know it took me like 5 tries to actually meet my spirit guides, to be able to like see them face to face. And there was like time in between those. Like, I didn't do it all night from night, like back to back. It was definitely spaced out. So if you guys are trying to meet your spirit guides, I highly recommend just continuing to meditate regularly. I do not recommend that you just go ahead and jump into a spirit guide meditation before you've even learned how to like regular meditate. There's different types of meditation, and maybe I could go into that if you guys are interested, but definitely try to go into a more basic type of meditation. I highly recommend learning how to ground before you do any of that as well. That will definitely help you. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. I think that's the earliest memory that I have of that. There would be times as a kid where I definitely, looking back on it now, I know that I like tapped into my psychic abilities, whether that was guessing something about somebody, or, you know, I really think I was like communicating with spirits at a very young age too, but as I got older, I started to get scared, which a lot of us do, because once we're affected by like the outside world and other people who have had scary experiences with spirits, then they kind of taint that for kids, and I think that happened to me a lot. I grew up Mormon. My family is Mormon. I grew up Mormon, which honestly, if I'm looking back at it, like has never really sat well with me. No offense to any Mormon people or Christian people, but it never really sat well with me. But I was kind of forced to go to church, like a lot of kids are. So I went, but I didn't like it. And it wasn't, even looking back into it, like, you know, how kids just don't like things sometimes. It was beyond that. I felt uncomfortable. And as I got older, maybe around 10, 11, 12, I started to express that to my parents. Like, hey, I don't like how church feels. Like, it doesn't work for me. And I would always ask questions. My bad, child, these allergies. Anyway, I would always ask questions that, like, my Sunday school teachers and stuff were not cool with. Like, you know, they'd be like, oh, yeah, Jesus did this and whatever. And I'd be like, why? And they're like, oh, you know, because of this. And I'd just be like, well, why did he do that when blah, 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 blah. Of course, that wasn't cool. Because they're like, you know, maybe you should pray about it. Like, ask your family about it, blah, 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 blah. Because I was asking, you know, hard-hitting questions about religion. Because for me, as a kid, like, first off, I'm a Sagittarius sun. Okay, she's very, I was going to say nosy. I'm going to say nosy. She's very nosy. She's very curious. So, I always want to know everything about everything. And so, I always ask questions. And a lot of what deterred me as well is, like, whenever I asked those questions, people either didn't have answers for me, or, like, it was like, like, why are you, like, people would get nervous. Like, why are you asking that? Like, calm down. Like, for example, like, okay, why were black people not allowed in the Mormon church? Listen, we're not even gonna get into that, but long story short, I rejected religion very, very early as a child. And I expressed that to my parents. I remember telling my mom when I was maybe 13, I might have been a little bit older, but I remember telling her, like, Mom, I don't want to go to church. And she was like, you have to go to church. Like, you're not just getting out of church. And I was like, I don't like church. And she was like, well, you know, Salia, church is not about, or I said, like, I didn't like the people or something like that. She was like, you know, church is not about the people. Church is about your connection with God. And I was like, okay, so if it's about my connection with God, why do I have to do it in church? And she was like, because, like, you're supposed to do it, and, you know, the classic Christian answer, you know, you're supposed to, like, that shows your devotion to Christ, and yada yada, all that stuff. So I was just like, still didn't sit right with me. And eventually I started telling her, like, Mom, I think I'm more spiritual than religious. And she would always tell me, like, you do not know what that means. And she's like, what do you mean by that? Like, tell me what you mean. And I'm like, I just feel like me and God, we know each other, and I don't have to prove that to anybody. Like, I don't have to be in a church to be telling people that. And she was like, well, you don't know what spirituality means. You're not even sure what that is. And I was like, I just know I don't like religion because I don't like how it's so, like, there's so many rules. And she's like, well, Salia, there has to be rules. And I'm like, it just never sat well with me, right? Long story short, never sat well with me. So I was just like, always iffy about the religion thing. So the older I got, obviously, started to rebel, wasn't going to church. My family hated that. Both of my parents were really, really upset because I did not go to church. And then once I was like 18, I was still living with my parents, and I stopped going to church altogether. I probably stopped going way earlier than that, actually. But they were not happy about it, and they made that very known. But I didn't care. Ooh, not my ears ringing. Ooh, anyway. So, I didn't want to go to church with them. Around 18, I started going to different kinds of churches. I went to Baptist churches, like my friends' churches, Christian, non-denominational churches. I will say Christian throat chakra, me. Christian non-denominational churches have resonated with me the most, just because I felt like I just felt like most accepted there. I'm bisexual, for those of you guys who don't know, and I kind of knew that early on as a teenager, but I was scared because, you know, it's a sin, and, you know, that's not supposed to be cool, and I kind of told, like, you know, I would hint that to my parents and stuff, and it was always like, oh, that's disgusting, that's not what God would want, kind of thing. So I always kind of just kept it to myself. Like, I still knew that about myself, I just didn't share it with as many people, because, you know, I knew it seemed wrong and things like that. What's next? Oh, let's talk about my tattoo. Not this thing. I have another tattoo. It's right here, on my sternum. And the reason why I'm bringing that up now in the story is because this is the earliest kind of spiritual awakening that I could think of that I had. And that is when I was around 14 years old. I don't even remember what I was doing, baby, but I designed a tattoo. I was really into like philosophy and like, I don't know, I was just trying to find myself, right? Like any other teenager. So I was trying to find myself, and I came up with almost like a set of rules for myself, like kind of like a set of symbols. I don't know if I can like insert a picture of my tattoo or something in here so you guys can see it, or maybe I'll post it on Instagram or something so that you guys can see it. But essentially what it is an hourglass. It's like halfway gone. There is a circle around it, a dotted circle. There's also an arrow going up the middle, with a circle on the bottom, which is like represents the moon. And so yeah, it was all very like particularly planned out. And the way that I designed this tattoo was really, it's almost like I almost kind of made my own like coat of arms, or like my own type of design that I felt like enveloped things that I believed in as a kid. And so I won't get too far into it. If you guys want like a further description on it, let me know, and I'll post it like on Instagram or something. But basically the hourglass, and remember, I was 14 when this happened, right? And I don't even remember what happened around that to make me even want to design this thing, but I did. So the hourglass was supposed to represent feminine energy, but also like a balance. The hourglass, you know, the shape of an hourglass is very feminine. It was supposed to represent like life being cyclical. And also like the design of an hourglass is very like symmetrical. The way that it's positioned on, you know, my tattoo, it's very symmetrical and balanced. So I don't know, you know, as a kid, you think you have it all figured out. Like that was me. Like, okay, I know that life is all about balance. I know that life is all about, you know, cycles. And like, these were all just things that I felt like were key to living the best life I could possibly live, and things that really attributed themselves to me and how I would like to live my best life, essentially. So yeah, I designed that tattoo. There was an arrow in it because I'm a Sagittarius. I didn't even, like, I always knew that I was a Sagittarius. I didn't even know what that really meant, but for some reason I really identified with it. So there's an arrow. And then I also have, like, at the arrow, there's, the tip of the arrow is a triangle, right? An open triangle, which alchemically, the symbol of the triangle is for fire, which Sagittarius is a fire sign. Remember, this is all when I'm 14 years old. okay? Like, this is 14-year-old me, like, drawing out all this stuff. And I remember, there's more to it. Let me know if you guys want to hear more. But I remember drawing it out. I've always been, like, an artist, and that will be a separate video, like, how how being an artist really has helped me on my spiritual journey and really helped me to tap into my psychic abilities in a way that didn't really make sense until I started doing it. But I showed the tattoo to my mom, right? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm gonna get this tattoo. And she was like, Salia, you're 14, you're not getting a tattoo. And I was like, yes, I am, Mom, I'm gonna get a tattoo. Like, I was explaining it to her, and she was like, okay, sure, fine, you know. It's like any other, like, little picture that a kid shows you. She's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Just get it after you're 18. I'm like, yeah, fine, of course. I actually ended up getting this tattoo when I was, like, 18. I had just gone through a breakup, which is like a whole nother thing. If y'all want more information about my life, I'm more than happy to, like, throw it out there. Just let me know. But this ain't the video for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that stuff later on in the show. So yeah, essentially, fast forward to not last year, maybe a couple years ago. After I moved to Hawaii, I think I had gone through another breakup. Baby, I don't know. I didn't lost track of my breakups, okay? But I ended up getting the tattoo. I remembered it. I don't know if I saw a picture of it when I had done it, or I just remembered it, or what. But it just came to me, and I was like drawing it out one day, and I was like, boom, I'm gonna get it. I have to have this as a tattoo. Like, this has to be on my body. And, like, I kept thinking, like, where I wanted to put it. At first, I wanted to put it on the back of my neck, but I wasn't really sure. I wanted it to be in a place that I would always be able to see it and always be reminded of all of those principles that I had kind of set out for my life. So that was definitely something of a spiritual, like, awakening, I think, because there's a lot of sacred geometry that I included in there, and a lot of really, like, deep philosophical stuff that I'm not sure how else I would have comprehended and, like, gone so in depth with at the age of 14 without it being, like, some kind of spiritual awakening or epiphany. Even if I didn't know that's what it was at the time. So yeah, that was really cool. I have that tattoo, and I absolutely love it. And I am wanting to incorporate that into, like, my business logo. So definitely stay tuned for that. These are so good, by the way. Delicious. Who thought of this? To make grapes taste like cotton candy. So it's healthy. Because I feel like I heard it's still healthy. Like, it's not, like, any extra sugar or anything. It's just, like, the way that they make it. I don't know. There's, like, special stuff that they put in it where it tastes like cotton candy. Which is excellent. Okay, so next part of my spiritual journey that I want to talk about is meeting my twin flame. Baby, I think meeting my twin flame was a catalyst in my life for my spiritual awakening. When I think of the biggest spiritual awakening that I've had to date, I would have to say it's around the time that I met my twin flame. I never knew what a twin flame was until, so I moved here to Hawaii in about, I want to say 2015, 2016. I moved here. I was dating somebody who was not my twin flame. Dating somebody, we broke up. That was, like, a weird traumatic thing. And, like, the things that happened afterwards. But one of my really, really good friends, I call her my sister, Savali. She was kind of getting into her spirituality, I think, at that time, and she was kind of introducing it to me little by little. So she would actually read, like, oracle cards for me, and I didn't really, like, I had heard of tarot and oracle cards and stuff like that before, but again, like with my Christian background, like I didn't, like I was still skeptical of it. Like I didn't know if it was safe or whatever, but y'all know me, I'm a rebel. So I was just like, yeah, girl, go ahead, read my cards. She read my cards, and I think, I want to say it was like 2017, about that time, maybe. And she had told me, about a male presence that was in my energy field. And she was like, yeah, there's this male presence in your energy field, and it's somebody who's really, really protective of you, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there was like this guy that I was kind of hanging out with, and like he had a crush on me, but I didn't really like him like that, but like we were kind of just hanging out as friends, and I thought it was him. And she was like, no, she knew him. She's like, no, it's not him, it's somebody else, like it's somebody older than him. And I was like, well, who is it? She was like, well, I don't know. But she goes, this is somebody who's very, very protective of you. She goes, they're watching you from afar. They're watching you from afar. And you don't know who they are, but they will make themselves known to you eventually. And I was like, ooh, you know, like, that's interesting. And like, I'm wondering who it is, and I had no idea. Fast forward a couple years later, skipping all the details, I met my twin flame. I work with him, and we met at work. We ended up talking. We ended up getting together. My friend Salia, she knows him because she also works with us. And she was like, Salia, I think this might be your twin flame. And I was like, what? What is a twin flame? And she explained it to me, so I did my own research. Okay, I got hungry. I caved. I got hungry. I went and got some poke to eat. Anyways, where was I in my story? I think I was talking about... I'm sorry, this is so choppy. Listen. Just bear with me. So, I think we left off with meeting my twin flame. Meeting my twin flame has probably been the most impactful thing. Yeah, I'm not even gonna give it that much credit. It's been impactful in my spiritual journey. Not in the way that I originally thought it would be, though. So, like I said, I think I started talking to my twin flame in like 2019. Got together. I was studying up on what twin flames are, what that means, what it's supposed to do, and I was like, great, you know, I found my other half. I found this person who, you know, I'm supposed to be with forever, and we're gonna love each other, and we're gonna raise the consciousness of the world and humanity, and like, it's gonna be great. Listen, just stay tuned, okay? So, twin flame journey has been wild. Like I said, got together in 2019, went back and forth, on and on. My twin flames in here already know runner chaser dynamic, right? Break up, one's running, one's chasing, switch roles, rinse, repeat, all that. In 2019, I want to say April of 2019, he broke up with me over some small stuff. Okay, everything had kind of built up, though. We had been kind of arguing for a while. Broke up with me in April. Of course, I'm sad, boo-hoo, you're supposed to be my twin flame, what's going on? It honestly kind of came out of nowhere for me, so I was very confused. I was like, okay, whatever. So, we I was also in school at that time. I have a BFA in graphic design, and like I said earlier, I'm definitely going to make that video about how being involved in art and like my art degree and art school has really helped me to understand my psychic readings and like be able to read tarot and do mediumship in a like a really, really helpful way. But I was in the last year of my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, April. So, and that's right around Corona time. So, ooh, I don't think I'm supposed to say that on YouTube. I might have to bleep that or something. Maybe they won't, maybe they won't notice. Not my lips looking like that. I didn't look at myself for a long time. I'm over here just eating. What is that? Listen. Anyways, so I'm gonna get the hang of this YouTube thing one day. So, the panorama hits. Everything's up in flames. Working from home, or like going to school from home, made it a lot harder. I was freaking a senior, right, in college. I was very senioritis-y. Didn't want to do anything. I was definitely really over it, and it was way harder. A lot of stress, and so a breakup, trying to graduate. Graduation came around in May. Because of the panorama, my family was not able to fly down here to Hawaii to celebrate. Graduation is like a really big deal in our family, and in my immediate family, I'm the first one to graduate with a bachelor's degree. So I was really excited for like my family to come out, and they did not. The day that I graduated, I didn't have a boyfriend anymore. The only person that celebrated with me the day that I graduated was, like, I didn't get to walk across the stage or anything, was my friend Rochelle. Shout out to you, Rochelle. I know you probably watching this. I love you, girl. She's the only one who really celebrated with me. I'll give my unit credit. My unit actually also, like, they did like a little drive-by, which was organized by Savali. So shout out to you too, Savali, my besties. I appreciate y'all. But anyways, so I was really just going through it, right? My family did not call me on the day of my graduation. I actually called them, like, you know, in like the movies where it's like those episodes where like it's the character's birthday, and like they go throughout the whole episode like wondering if people had forgotten their birthday, and then at the end they surprise them. And I thought that's what was going on. I'm like, okay, you know, nobody's calling me or whatever, they're just gonna call me at the end of the day, or maybe they're gonna surprise and fly out. I don't know what I was thinking, but it didn't happen. So later on that day, the day of my graduation, I called and I was like, oh hey, you know, expecting them to say like, surprise, we're at the airport, or surprise, we sent you something for your graduation, or surprise, blah blah blah. And everybody was just busy, and they were like, you know, what's going on? Oh my gosh, my nose. My allergies are ridiculous, and I'm kind of upset about it. Anyway, the show must go on. The show must go on. So I call my parents and I'm like, hey, you know, how's everybody's day going? And they're like, oh, you know, it's just been really busy. And I'm like, so I graduated today. And they were like, oh, right. And I'm like, oh, yo. And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm like, okay, so that really actually, like, I played it off, but like low-key, ooh, I'm trying not to cry. That actually really like hurt. Like, I was already by myself. I had already just gone through a breakup. So, ooh, she's not gonna cry. Hello. I actually put on stuff on my eyeballs. So it sucked. I was going through it financially. I was barely making ends meet, with like all of my bills going on. I had a car. It was like an old kind of like beat up car. It had been giving me a lot of trouble. It broke down, like it just stopped working. And that was really frustrating because like I had no other way to get around besides like the bus. But even with like Corona, like the bus schedule excuse me, the bus schedule is like all weird. And yeah, so basically it was a big like dark night of the soul tower moment type of deal for me, and that is really what I think really catapulted my spiritual journey. So now we getting into the nitty gritty. What I ended up doing was getting a tarot deck. I had already been kind of like into tarot a little bit, like I said. I had gotten my cards read by my friends a couple of times. I was looking at some YouTube stuff, especially when I started getting involved in like the twin flame journey and everything like that. So I went and ordered myself a tarot deck. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and read this for myself. Like, I feel like I need something to kind of lean on to understand what's going on in my life, whatever. It'll be cool. So I got it. My first tarot deck came in at like the end of April, I think, actually. Yeah, it was more of like the breakup, I think, that kind of like did it, right? So got my first tarot deck. I started reading for myself every single day. I was studying what the cards meant. A lot of self-study. A lot of people have asked like if I've gone to some kind of like tarot training school thing. I have not. Everything that I've learned has been self-study. So, you know, or like watching readers on YouTube and like just kind of picking up on what people thought about the different cards. And like I studied, like I have journal entries of like daily tarot pulls that I would do for myself, and like what I thought the cards meant and things like that. So yeah, a lot of meditation, a lot of working with my spirit guides once I kind of like figured out what that even was. And so I started picking it up really fast, actually. And honestly, like looking back, it's kind of a blur because I really just did start doing it so fast. So fast forward to August. By August, I was starting to charge people for tarot readings. I think I was kind of on TikTok, and I think I had like hit over 1,000 followers, so I could go live. So I would just like randomly go live, and usually I would just be eating. Y'all know, if you guys been around a long time on TikTok, like I'm usually on there eating. She's a hungry girl. So I would just like hang out and eat, and then I had my cards and I was like, hey, does anybody want like a tarot reading? Like, let's see what's up. I just started doing it. And then people started asking me like, oh, do you read people's cards? Like, can you do this? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And so I ended up reading cards for people in August. That's when I started. And everything has just been wild ever since. So much has happened in the past year. In the past year, of course, I met my spirit guides. Like I said, I've been kind of like, I was talking to them through tarot way before I even knew, like I was talking to them through tarot way before I even kind of like really understood that connection in the first place. Then I met them through a meditation. Each of them told me, like the 3 main ones that I have, like I have 5 of them around me now, and I'll go into that in a minute. But, you know, they showed me who they were. I saw all of their auras. They explained to me. They actually showed me what my future daughter is going to look like, which is pretty cool. I saw my grandparents, and this was all through like an astral projection / meditation type of thing. And like I said, this was like after several failed attempts, I finally met them. And basically I kept getting all of these tarot readings on YouTube, and from my spirit guides, it was like, you're a healer, you're supposed to be helping people, you know, you're an empath, you do all these things. And I was just like, okay, cool, like that's cool, like I could do that. So I'm like doing tarot, and then while I was doing tarot, I just noticed it always felt like somebody was talking to me when I was pulling the cards, right? So I always just resonated that with, or like I associated that with it being my spirit guides. And so when people would come and talk to me and take, you know, get readings from me, I would always take that as their spirit guides talking, or both of our spirit guides talking and giving me the messages. It wasn't till later that I realized she's a medium. literally spirits popping in and out of my apartment, showing up. Like, they would show me their faces, or they would show me different things about their life and just like describe things to me. Again, that's where that art degree comes in, because a lot of them speak in symbolism. And so it was really cool to like experience all that. But I'm not gonna lie, it freaking scared the hell out of me the first time that, you know, they were playing with my lights. A lot of you guys will know, like on my readings and stuff like that, spirits love to play with my lights. They would knock things over, they would make sounds, they would make my ears ring, they would do all kinds of stuff. And this all happened like in a very like compact time, like over not even a year, because it hasn't even been a year since I've been doing tarot. And people ask me all the time, like, wow, how did you do it so fast? And like, honestly, the only thing that I could tell you is I really feel like this is just my purpose. Since I was really little, I've always wanted a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to be in like a social media space. Like, even before it was like a really popular thing to do, I would always be in the mirror and like, I had a YouTube channel when I was little, and I would do like, and I'm talking little, like 10 or whatever, and like I would do like outfit of the day videos and whatever. It was the ugliest thing ever. Don't ever try to look for it. You will not find it, because I'm pretty sure I burned all evidence of that. So but I think in a way I've really manifested where I am today, because I would literally sit in front of my camera, like I would record myself talking just like this now, or like I would sit in front of my mirror and pretend like I was being interviewed, or like a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I've always felt like this kind of thing, this space that I'm in now, is where I was supposed to be. And so just the more and more that I've gone with it, the more and more I've realized like this is my purpose. I never would have pictured that this is where I would be, but here I am. You know, several mediumship readings later, several tarot readings. I'm now doing workshops to help people, and like everything is flowing. My twin flame relationship, I'll have to make a separate video on that. If you guys want to see that, let me know. But essentially, I have learned a lot about myself through my twin flame journey, and I've realized that meeting your twin flame and going on your twin flame journey is more about you than the other person. It's more about you finding yourself, coming into union with yourself, because a lot of people think like, oh, it's my twin flame, I'm supposed to end up with them. That's not necessarily true. So I'll get into that in a different video. If you guys want to hear that, comment below. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to make sure that I haven't missed anything. I'm not even sure. Honestly, it's just been so much. Like, understanding what angel numbers are, and meeting my spirit guides, and meeting other people's spirit guides, and learning that I'm a medium, and learning that I can communicate with people who have passed away, and I can relay those messages to people, has all been so crazy. It's a whirlwind, and I'm honestly still very much on my spiritual journey. And I really, the way that I understand it is like, you know, that's just how it's going to be for kind of the rest of my life here, the rest of this incarnation. And it's all been really wild. I will say, for anybody who is looking for kind of like hints or something on their journey, just know that everybody's journey is completely different. So if yours is nothing like mine, or maybe yours is a little bit like mine, don't compare it necessarily. If you guys have questions, I would love to answer those. In case I didn't go over whatever it is that you were looking for in the video, please comment down below. I will try and take all the comments from, you know, whatever I may have left out, and like do a separate like Q&A, just so I could like get to the point, because y'all know I'd be rambling. But yeah, basically all of those things have kind of led me to where I am now. And there's a lot of times where I have not listened to my spirit guides, but I've noticed that every time I do listen to them, abundance follows. I will say that. So I definitely think it's really important for anybody who wants to have a relationship with their spirit guides to build that the best you can. I have a bunch of videos all over my channel about it. I'm always on live answering questions. A lot of times I'll refer you guys to the videos because, you know, I be putting in some work trying to film these videos. But like I said, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight. I know I probably missed a lot of things, so go ahead and ask any questions that you have, and I will be on the lookout. And like I said, I'll probably make like a part 2 or like a straightforward Q&A about all the questions that you guys have about my personal spiritual journey. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope I wasn't rambling and jumping around too much and that you got something interesting out of this. I hope that your snack, whatever you was eating while you watch this, was tasty. I also need to go drink some water, and I'm probably gonna go jump on TikTok live right now. So make sure you guys subscribe if this has been helpful for you. Check out all of my socials. The link will be down below in the description. I've wanted to say that like since I was like little. The information's gonna be in the description box anyway. So I really thank all of you guys, because I really wouldn't be here. My spiritual journey has really included a lot of you guys. Whoo, I'm not gonna cry. And I'm really grateful for each and every one of you that I have had the opportunity to connect with, to read for, even if it was just like in a general reading, or you may have like slipped past one of my videos. Like, all of those things have helped me to develop and be the person and the reader that I am today. So I'm really grateful for that. And so I'm going to get out of here before I start bawling like a small baby. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all of your love and support. I really appreciate it. I couldn't be here without you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, Vibe Tribe.